Welcome back, Caddy Corner. 14, I think.
Episode 14.
Boom. We're back. You guys are here a week later. Caleb and I are here a minute later.
Yeah.
Possibly less. No breaks. We're going to go straight through this thing.
Sure are.
Maybe. We will see. But this episode is going to all be about kind of the creative and, well, I guess the creative process of how we make this show every week. We've talked about doing this episode for a really long time.
Yeah.
This is probably like one of the first ones that we ever talked about doing. But I think it's kind of crazy how the process it's changed a lot. Like we've gotten a lot better. And I mean, if we really needed to, and don't hold us to this, guys, but we could definitely like churn out an episode in like a day or two.
Yeah.
Actually, I'll see this anyway. But Friday's episode is going to be the highlight of this this process, how fast we can get stuff out. But
Yeah.
we're just going to kind of take you through the whole thing and talk about kind of our individual stuff where you do the audio and I do the video, and there will be some differences there, definitely. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So pretty much where every podcast starts, you'll never guess, planning it out.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I would have never thought.
It's crazy. Yeah.
Whenever we started this thing, I never would have thought I'd have to plan.
No, me neither. But here we are.
Planning.
Every week.
Gosh.
At least for me, coming up with ideas is probably the hardest thing in this podcast.
Totally.
Honestly, in the entire creative process, coming up with a good idea. And I think as we make more of these, it becomes easier because we learn kind of what you guys like. This is only episode 14, which is a lot, but we still have no idea really what you guys like. So let us know what you like, because that makes the planning a lot easier.
Much easier.
Much easier. But we kind of just come up with ideas that we think would be interesting to talk about, and then we make them. Generally, what we kind of do is we would pick a topic that we really wanted to talk about. Usually they're time sensitive.
Mm-hmm.
One that I think about is like the high school episode that we did. That was a very it was timed pretty much around whenever our high school was kind of just going out of session, kind of graduating then. And so then we just kind of brainstormed some ideas about kind of what to talk about for high school graduates and also just other high school students. That's pretty much what it is. It's pretty simple. We don't really have like an extensive planning or like research process. That's kind of the thing too, is this podcast isn't really like research based. Everything that you've ever heard from Caleb and I is just our opinion, unless of course we did get facts. Sometimes we have facts.
Sometimes.
But not very often.
No, most of the time it's just opinion based.
Yeah, pretty much. So, but yeah, that's why like our planning is pretty simple. It's not really very extensive, which I would probably say that if we have any major errors in our process, planning is probably where we're pretty bad. Not pretty bad, but if we're bad anywhere, it's there.
Yeah.
I don't think we've ever posted an episode that was like a bad idea, but sometimes this bulk session right here is actually a great example. We came up with all the ideas for the podcast that you're seeing at this table. All of them were conceptualized about like 8 hours ago.
Yeah.
About then. So, but yeah, it's something that we could definitely get better at. But it's also probably like the least glamorous or fun part of this whole thing. So
Yeah.
So that's kind of the planning part of the process. And coming up with ideas is hard, especially as a creator, because there's no like defined path.
Yes.
And I at least don't want to just make what everybody else has made. Like. And you also have to tailor to your audience. Like, we don't really know exactly what our audience wants from us. So, and what's tough too is like with our guest episodes doing super well. Obviously, people like guest episodes. That's kind of how podcasts really work anyway. But, like, what are we supposed to do whenever it's solo episodes? Good question. So much to learn.
Lots to learn.
These are questions. Yes, definitely. But then after we kind of plan everything out. And usually this happens after a recording session.
Yeah.
For kind of context, usually we like record the episodes and then we talk for like hours after coming up with ideas for the podcast for the next time. But then it goes to organizing. And so Caleb and I have a shared Notion where we have a calendar that we use pretty often. And then we kind of have, which we haven't updated in a while because we haven't really, like, you guys have seen episodes for the past however long, but Caleb and I have only seen each other like twice, maybe. Ever since when was the last time? What was the last thing we recorded? It was the day that we did Bailey's
episode is the last day we recorded.
So that was forever ago. So we haven't been super good with the Notion recently, but organizing is the second part. And that's where the Notion is where we dump all of our ideas and where we schedule the whole thing out and kind of other things like that. So we've talked about Notion on this podcast before. This is definitely not the podcast to go deep into that because that can take us forever. Yeah. But Notion's great. They help us keep organized.
Totally.
Hence the name for step 2 of our process.
Organization.
So, and it's very simple. It's just literally a calendar with things written on it.
Yeah, it holds all the dates and things that we're doing on those days and all that good stuff.
Exactly, and we dump like general ideas and stuff like that in there too. So Notion's pretty cool. If you do anything collaboratively, Notion's very good for that too. So, but then step 3 is actually shooting the show, which we do every Friday for the sake of argument, except for recently, but coming back every Friday soon. So. But we shoot every Friday, so a podcast also goes up on Friday, and we usually record on Fridays as well. Sometimes we'll record multiple shows. Sometimes we'll record one show.
Sometimes
we'll record no shows on a Friday, like today. We're recording on a Wednesday. But you just never know. You never know. Generally, though, if everything goes to schedule, shooting on a Friday.
Yeah.
And we pretty much just set up and go. Like usually we don't really come into the first thing that we do whenever we come into a recording session is just knock the show out. Yeah. We don't really do anything before that. Just come in, set that up, and record. Yep. And obviously that works really well for us, which I'm sure everybody's different. But that's kind of our process to just come in, set up, and shoot everything. And really that's where, maybe that's a lot of the difficulty in starting a podcast for people. If this is your first time listening to us, Caleb and I have a little bit of background in this whole digital production thing from high school, and so it's pretty easy for us to just set everything up and plug everything in and make a podcast. But maybe that's the tough part for other people. But the shooting and editing part's the easiest part for us, I think, at least.
Yeah, totally.
Because that's kind of our forte. And
then, that's what we've done the most.
Yeah, and coincidentally, step 4, editing. Yeah. So. I handle all the video stuff, and so usually as soon as we're done the recording, I'll come back home after we're kind of done having our little – also on the shooting days, I didn't even mean to skip over this, but we have our little meetings where we come up with ideas, talk about kind of what's next for the show, and how we can push the future of Caddy Corner forward, you guys. But yeah, that's kind of how a shoot day goes. But then when it comes to the editing – usually I come home and immediately you just send me the audio, and then I sync it up together, and then we have the rough cut of the podcast done. And then throughout the next week, I'll have time to make the TikToks and the Reels and stuff like that. And that's pretty much it for me. What about for you, your audio stuff?
Yeah, so basically what it looks like is we record an episode, and then pretty much as soon as we're done recording, I email you the audio, just like you said, and then I'll listen to the raw audio one time all the way through and just listen to the show. And then after I listen to that, I'll usually take the afternoon off, and then the next day, whenever I have some free time, that's whenever I'll start editing. And I like to edit in 15-minute segments, so I'll listen to 15 minutes of the show, and then as soon as that 15 minutes is up, then I'm done, just so I can stay productive. Because one thing that I've talked about a lot is whenever you try and sit down, for me anyway, whenever I try and sit down and edit an hour-long podcast or a 30-minute podcast, things that I'll cut out of the show in the first 5 minutes of the show, I'll look over in the last 5 minutes of the show. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. And so that's why I like to split it up like that. And I think 15 minutes is a good, my brain stays focused on that for 15 minutes, and that's about it. So
that works out.
And so then after I finish recording or finish editing all the audio, then I'll listen to it one more time, and then I upload it, schedule it for the upload day, and then so we use Anchor to upload our audio podcast. And so you basically just throw the audio in there, add your description, add your title, add your show notes, everything, click post, schedule, post, and then it'll come out on whenever you schedule it.
Boom, boom, pow. I love and this is like us behind the scenes being like editing dorks, is like it's funny how your process is like the 15-minute chunks thing, because mine is like almost the total opposite. Like whenever I sit down, and this isn't how I kind of do it every time, but for me, this is how I do the reels. I don't think I've really talked about this like in depth, and it's actually kind of changed a little bit. So whenever I rough cut the episode, that's just syncing the audio up. Generally, little bit of knowledge for you guys: we don't usually cut anything out.
Yeah, usually we don't cut anything out.
If you do, it's pretty obvious in the video because it's a big jump cut, big awkward jump cut, because that's how it is for a podcast, unfortunately. But generally, we don't cut anything out. So whenever I'm editing, I will listen to the full podcast through, and so I have my, I'll just press play on Final Cut, and then I'll push my keyboard and mouse forward, and I have my iPad, and then I will write on notes. I'll write down the time for a clip, for like a little clip, and then I'll like write where the cuts would be. So all I have to do whenever I go back through is put it in the timeline and then cut what I need out and then piece it together, and it's done. The time is done. All I have to do is subtitle it. And so usually whenever I watch through a full podcast, I mean, obviously if it's longer, there's more clips, but usually I shoot for like 4 to 6, and for like the guest episodes, I did as many as I can. So as many as are good. And so that's kind of it. I just write all of the times and then like the title of the clip next to it. That way it's easy to reference back, and then I just go through and then I subtitle everything. And then subtitling, it's literally just, well, the hardest part of it was originally figuring out what font and colors and stuff I thought looked cool.
Yeah.
And so we ended up with what we have now, which is okay. And then just doing that, watching the clips over like 3 times to figure out what everybody says and then write it back down. But it's just kind of a back and forth process. But for me, I couldn't just do that in like 15-minute chunks, because what I would want to, like, I would sit down, I'd watch the podcast back, write all of the time codes down, and then I would take like an hour off. Yeah. And I would come back and I would do like 4 reels, and I'd leave and I'd come back. And for me, it's like very much like completion based. But I guess it's sort of different, because for you it's important to have like fresh ears.
Yeah.
For me, it's like I literally have like a shot list of exactly what I need. All I'm doing is like putting the puzzle pieces together.
Yeah, totally.
Which is a little bit different, obviously. But yeah, that's the editing. And then, I mean, obviously there's also this little bit of tidbit too, where I also have to make the thumbnail. And so usually what I do is I obviously export the full podcast, and I use that file, because usually I upscale the resolution or a little bit, or I color correct it or something like that. And so that way I don't have to use the raw stuff each time. So I throw it into Final Cut, and that's where I do the clips with the actual file that you watch on YouTube. Mm-hmm. And then so whenever I have all that, I have a folder for TikToks, which is all of the vertical videos, and then I have the full-length video. And then whenever I'm uploading the full-length videos, usually whenever I make the thumbnail, and then I made our thumbnail template, which is the thumbnail for every podcast that we've posted on the YouTube channel ever. Yeah. And I just plug and play the episode numbers and the title that looks good in the green circle, which has been on every one that we've ever posted. So time for a refresh maybe, but coming soon. Little do you guys know. But yeah, that's pretty much the editing side of it. And then distribution, we upload every Friday. The video goes up at 8. The podcast, the actual audio goes up at like what, 6:30 or 6 or
6.
So, yeah. So it's up every Friday morning. And then the TikToks, they kind of just come out as we see fit. I tried to post one. I tried to post at least like 4 a week, but that's harder than it seems, because I always forget. Yeah. And another thing too is like we learn a lot whenever we post the Instagram reels, because I've posted reels that are just as good as every other one, because I've made them, but they get like 200 views and like no distribution. And then we'll post ones at other times on different days, and they'll get like 4,000 or 5,000 views. It's crazy. So
still got to figure out how all that works, but
yeah. Well, and I think it's just a matter of like learning what we do, like when our stuff does good. But, I would say, I think what's really important too is like, especially whenever you do anything, especially collaboratively, like the creative process is so important, and the way that you actually get your work done is super important. And that's something people you never think about that.
Yeah.
Like whenever we thought about, hey, let's make a podcast, it'll be fun. Obviously, like we thought deeper than that, but I don't think we ever thought to the point that we would have to like iron out every little individual aspect of the whole thing.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like, it's like, if you want to do it as a hobby, then you can do whatever you want, obviously.
Yeah.
But it's like, we want this to be more than a hobby. We wouldn't give it as much time and effort as we do if we wanted it to just be a hobby. And so you have to like take a step back and look at your process as like a business. Like, where can you tighten up?
Yep.
What can you make better? And for me, at least, I think that where we maybe take a little bit of a hit, planning, definitely. Distribution, also tough. Because sometimes I just don't post the reels. I just forget.
Yeah.
It sucks. But, you get better, and maybe we can have an intern one day.
Maybe.
That can post our Instagram reels and respond to comments. That could be fun.
Yeah.
Yes, if you're interested. We don't pay well. But
nope.
we don't pay well. But you can be our intern.
You can be our friend.
Yeah, you could be our friend. Maybe you're already our friend and you want to be our intern.
Maybe.
That could be arranged.
If you're interested, let us know.
Yeah, let us know.
Talk about all the perks.
All the perks. There's not many.
No, barely any at all.
At least not in the traditional sense. Maybe we'll come up with some perks.
I mean, we could totally do that.
We could totally do that.
Yeah. I mean, I'll throw in a cookie every now and then.
Oh, my God. Perfect. That would be great. That would be perfect. Yeah, I can provide apple slices.
I love apple slices.
Yes, definitely.
Would you share them with me?
Sure. We can have team apple slices. You can be a part of Team Caddy Corner, guys.
And the team apple slices for the first time ever.
We've
never done that before.
No, never.
If you can't tell by my reaction, we have never had team apple slices.
No. So many ideas.
So many.
Yeah. But we can ramble about the process forever.
Yeah, we could.
Because that's kind of like our forte. But we won't. Maybe in a later date we will really ramble about the process. But hopefully this episode gave you like a little bit of insight to what it actually looks like making a podcast behind the scenes, even though you didn't get to see any of it except for the shooting part. Because you never get to see anything but the shooting part, because we don't vlog every aspect of this. Maybe one day. That could be fun.
Yeah.
But today's not the day. Today is the day to record 3 podcasts, which is what we're doing. And so I think that's going to wrap this episode up.
Yep.
Fantastic.
Sure is.
So I'll go ahead and hit my spiel again.
Yeah, go ahead.
If you're on the YouTube channel, if you're watching there, subscribe and like and ring the bell. And 95% of you aren't subscribed. And we're furious. And we're coming for you. So just subscribe. And you'll be taken off the hit list.
As soon as you subscribe, it's so easy. All you have to do is just hit the little button. YouTube makes it so easy.
It is. Just turn the red button gray, and everything will be okay.
Yeah.
Ooh,
I mean,
bars on accident.
You know what I'm saying?
Know what I'm saying? So just make sure to do that. It makes it a lot easier for you to find our show, because you just look up Caddy Corner every time. Probably gets a little confusing. You just subscribe. It's right there on the side. Or if you're on mobile, it's right there in the subscription box. So just do that. And if you're on audio, rate, review, share, do whatever you got to do, because every audio platform is different, and we're on all of them, and I don't know what they all do because I use Apple Podcasts. So follow us on Instagram. We made a Facebook page. I don't know what to do with it. I'm trying. Never used Facebook in my. Last time that I used Facebook was whenever I was like 10.
Mm-hmm.
I'm now 19, and the Facebook page that I created is for my podcast, not for myself. So I don't know what to do with it. So if you have ideas, let me know. And if you want to post on our Facebook page, feel free. Just don't get us in trouble with Facebook.
Yep.
That's it. So
if you have any questions about what our process is like, and you want us to know something specific, feel free to reach out.
Yeah, hit us up.
Also, we're having a 20th episode extravaganza.
Yeah, Q&A, Hawaiian shirts.
Yep. So if you want us to answer your question for our 20th episode, send it to us in the DMs. Austin's going to create a something.
It'll definitely be on the linktree.
Yep.
Be looking out for it. I don't know what it's going to be yet. It'll be all over social media, so just let us know. But 20th episode Q&A. This is episode 14.
We're almost there, guys.
What do we got? Like 7 weeks?
Yeah.
That'll put us at like the middle of September-ish. No, it won't. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Something like that. So just maybe Hawaiian. Well, it'll be hot here until October. Hawaiian shirts will be appropriate in September.
Yeah, totally.
But yeah, 20th episode Q&A, 20th episode extravaganza. We will have streamers. We'll have apple slices.
Yep.
Especially if we have our intern by then. It'll be great.
It's going to be so fun.
It's going to be great. Maybe we'll have fireworks.
I
Who
can't
knows?
wait.
Who knows? Who knows? The potential is limitless. So definitely leave us your questions wherever I decide to make them leavable, because I don't know yet. We just came up with this idea literally like 22 minutes ago.
Well, if you have this idea, if you have a question and there's nowhere to ask it yet,
DM us.
And that would be absolutely incredible.
Absolutely incredible. So without further ado, that is the end of this episode of Caddy Corner. I'm Austin. He's Caleb. We always forget to say our names.
Every time.
And I think that's it. Peace out.